Hello, Leo. Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness. If this video has found you today, trust that it's not by accident, it's divine timing. There's a reason the universe guided you here, right now. And I need you to hear this from the very beginning. A very bad woman is watching you. But what she doesn't know is that God is already moving to lift you higher. Let me ask you something. Have you been feeling a strange pull lately? Like someone is paying attention to your every move, but not out of love? That silent tension, that invisible weight. Leo, you're not imagining it. Your light is too powerful. Your presence is too radiant. And sometimes, that kind of brilliance disrupts the shadows around it. In Buddhism, it is said, your enemy is your greatest teacher. But in your case, this energy isn't here to teach, it's here to test. You see, you're on the edge of a major breakthrough. And the brighter your soul becomes, the more the dark tries to cling. But don't be afraid. Because this time, Leo, you don't have to fight back. You only have to stay clear. Stay aligned. And watch how the universe handles what you can't. Before we go deeper, allow me to take a moment to thank you, from my heart, for being here. Every like, every comment, every subscriber that joins this Eternal Mindfulness family is a light that keeps this message alive. You are part of something bigger than a video. You are part of a movement, a soul awakening. And it's your support that allows us to keep sharing these messages of clarity, empowerment, and divine transformation. And trust me when I say this, Leo, you'll want to stay with me through every moment of today's reading. Because the truth that's about to be revealed, it's not just about a jealous woman. It's about your power, your purpose, and the divine justice that's already unfolding in your favor. So take a deep breath with me. Place your hand over your heart and ask yourself, am I shrinking myself to keep others comfortable? Or am I ready to rise into the truth of who I am? If there's an angel number that's been following you lately, maybe 444, 111, or even 888, I invite you to comment it below. That number isn't random. It's a breadcrumb from the universe, a signpost leading you exactly where you're meant to go. In this reading, we'll uncover who this envious energy truly is, what it means for your soul's journey, and most importantly, why it's happening now. There's a reason the heat has turned up. There's a reason your instincts are sharper, your emotions deeper, and your dreams louder than ever. You're not being shaken, you're being summoned. So stay calm. Stay clear. And get ready to see what the universe has been preparing for you behind the scenes. There are moments in your life, Leo, when you sense something is present, even if it never speaks, never moves, never shows its face. A subtle heaviness, a flicker in your thoughts, an unexplained wave of fatigue or frustration that seems to drift in without a cause. And maybe, just maybe, you've brushed it off. But now, with the appearance of the High Priestess in your energy field, it's time to pause and listen to what's been whispering in the background of your awareness. The High Priestess doesn't come forward without purpose. She rises when the unseen must be acknowledged, when silence itself becomes a message. She is not loud, not obvious, but her presence is undeniable. This archetype asks you not to panic or retaliate, but to recognize what your body, your mood, your energy has been trying to show you, that someone, somewhere, is casting their gaze in your direction, and not with love. You may not see her face clearly, but you've felt her. In the comparison. In the quiet judgment. In the way your confidence suddenly dipped on a day you woke up feeling just fine. This isn't about paranoia or fear. It's about energetic awareness, the kind that doesn't need proof to be valid. There's a woman, cloaked not in magic but in quiet resentment, who's been watching. Not always with active intention, but with the kind of emotional entanglement that clings to others' light when she has forgotten her own. You may have once trusted her. You may have even loved her, or looked up to her. And that's what makes this energy so complex. It's not loud or aggressive. It's subtle. It creeps in. But your soul, Leo, has never stopped noticing. Energy lingers where attention goes. When someone fixates on you, especially through jealousy, comparison, or wounded admiration, they don't need to speak a word. Their attention alone can create tension in your space, like an invisible thread pulling at your joy, your clarity, your fire. And yet, here you are, still shining. Still standing. Still being you. The question now isn't, who is she, but rather, what do I need to clear? There is great wisdom in not needing to confront every shadow with a sword. Sometimes, all that's needed is awareness and release. When you write her name on paper, not with anger, but with clarity, and choose to burn it, safely and mindfully, you're not cursing her. You're letting go of the energetic hook that connected you. You're freeing both of you from the silent contract that's been draining your light. In teachings passed down for generations, it is said that the moment we see without clinging, without judging, without resisting, liberation begins. The same applies here. You don't need her apology. You don't need her validation. What you need is to reclaim your space, your mind, your breath, your peace, from the grip of energy that does not belong to you. And you do that not through conflict, but through clarity. You might feel resistance to letting go. Part of you might want to hold on to the story, the wound, the why would she do that? But healing doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from releasing the need to keep carrying what no longer nurtures your soul. You've outgrown that version of the connection. You've outgrown the space that required you to dim your light for someone else's comfort. So when the thought of her arises again, when the mood dips, or the energy feels heavy, don't ignore it. Don't fight it either. Just observe. Witness. And then choose to breathe. To soften. To return to yourself. Remember this, Leo, the brightest flame does not need to fight the dark. It simply continues to burn. And no amount of watching, wishing, or resentment can undo the fire that was placed inside of you long before this woman ever knew your name. If you feel ready to release what you cannot control, to reclaim your peace, to call your energy back from anyone who misused it, you're already halfway there. Go ahead, in the comments below, share an angel number that's been following you, or simply write, I choose to be free. You never know who else needs to read it to begin their own release. You are not here to be afraid. You are here to rise, with grace, with strength, and with the kind of inner silence that cannot be disturbed. The energy that surrounds you now is one of momentum. Not the frantic kind, not the kind that burns you out, but a deep, forward-pulling current that comes when your inner and outer work begin to align. After moving through subtle shadows, after realizing someone may have been quietly pulling at your light, you now stand in a clearer space, Leo. And from here, the next step becomes illuminated, how you show up in the world, and how the world is beginning to respond in return. When the Chariot shows up in your energy field, it's not a gentle nudge, it's a call to movement. But not just any movement. This is focused, intentional, directed effort. It's when you no longer work just to survive or prove, but because something within you has crystallized. It's that rare kind of motivation that doesn't need loud rewards because the integrity behind your actions already feels complete. But make no mistake, rewards are coming. Alongside the Chariot stands Justice. She's not here to judge your past, but to balance the scales. The time, the quiet discipline, the effort no one saw. It's being counted. You may not have always gotten credit where it was due, not from people. But universal law has never stopped watching. And when justice shows up, it's not personal, it's precise. She delivers what is earned, what is aligned, and what has matured in the soil of patience. Then we see the Empress, a reminder that all this effort has not only been productive, but nourishing. She doesn't just signify money or success in the narrow sense. She points to abundance in its truest form, a life that blooms from the inside out. She asks, how are you tending to the garden of your life? Are you creating from anxiety, or are you moving with ease and grounded joy? It's not about pushing harder. It's about aligning more honestly. Now is the moment to pause and reflect. Not on what's next, but on what you've already built. What patterns have governed your relationship with money and work? Have you felt like success always requires struggle? Or have you started to sense a new path opening, one rooted in flow rather than force? This week, try something simple but revealing. For 7 days, write down not just what you spend, but how each transaction feels. When money leaves your hand, does it feel draining or fulfilling? Are you giving from fear, or from clarity? This isn't about budgeting. It's about relationship. Because how we treat money is rarely about the numbers, it's about how we treat ourselves. There's a quiet teaching that reminds us, when the mind is still and the heart is clear, the right path becomes obvious without force. That clarity is available to you now, especially as opportunities begin to appear. Someone from your past may resurface, perhaps a business offer, a project, or collaboration. Don't say yes too quickly, even if it sounds appealing. Feel into the energy. Does it expand your chest, or tighten it? Your body always knows. Use that wisdom. And remember the colors of this week, olive green and earthy brown. These are not loud, flashy shades. They are grounded, dependable, stable, like the kind of success you're being called to build now. Let those colors anchor you, in your space, your clothing, or even just your intention. Ask yourself, gently and without judgment, am I creating financial flow through joy, or through pressure? The answer may surprise you, and if it does, that's good. Because that realization is your invitation to shift. To choose again. To create not just wealth, but wealth that feels good to carry. This isn't about chasing what's ahead. It's about becoming who you need to be, so the right things naturally arrive. And they will. Because when you move with purpose and honesty, the universe has a way of meeting you halfway, every single time. Sometimes, the most profound turning points in life are the quietest ones, not the grand gestures or dramatic confrontations, but the soft moments when the past whispers back, and you realize that something within you has changed. After stepping into your power, realigning your path, and protecting your energy, you're now standing in a space where old connections begin to stir again. The tarot speaks clearly here: Judgment, the Empress, and the High Priestess. Together, they form a sacred triad, one of reckoning, nurturing, and deep knowing. And this energy is gently asking, are you ready to see someone from your past with new eyes? There may be someone, a person who once held space in your heart, someone whose absence shaped you more than their presence ever could, who is beginning to sense your growth. They may not be able to explain it, but they feel it. They see that you've changed, that you're no longer seeking validation or repeating old patterns. And because of that, they are being pulled toward you again, not out of habit, but out of recognition. But this moment is not about them. It's about you. About the way your inner landscape has evolved. And you now have the quiet power to choose, to revisit, to release, or to rewrite the story, but only if it truly aligns with who you are now. Forgiveness is not a requirement. It's an option, an offering you give yourself, not for their comfort, but for your freedom. Sometimes we wait for closure to come from another person, when in truth, closure often comes from within. Not from a perfect conversation or apology, but from the moment you realize you no longer need either. You have the right to feel everything, the ache, the anger, the confusion, and still choose to release it all, not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more now. Family, too, carries a similar echo. A parent, a sibling, someone you once shared silence and laughter with, they may not know how to say it, but they're waiting. Waiting for a bridge to be built again. Maybe it's a message left unread, or a call you've hesitated to return. The distance doesn't always mean disconnection. Sometimes, love waits quietly in the background until the right breath is taken to bring it forward again. And so, here's an invitation: write a letter to the one who lingers in your heart. You don't need to send it. This isn't about confrontation, it's about release. Let the words flow freely. Say what was never said. Acknowledge what hurt. Honor what was beautiful. And then, with grace, let it go. There is wisdom in not needing another person to carry your healing. You can do that for yourself. There's a quiet teaching that reminds us, the heart does not need to forget in order to move on. It only needs to be heard. The High Priestess within you already knows what feels right. The Empress within you reminds you that healing is a form of self-respect. And the Judgment card gently offers you a door, not a command to walk through it, but a chance to choose consciously. So ask yourself, is the love I'm revisiting rooted in the past, or in the present me? Is this a cycle repeating, or a new chapter unfolding? Only you know the answer. And whatever you choose, make sure it honors the version of yourself you've worked so beautifully to become. If you're ready, speak it below. I release old emotions to make space for a love that aligns. Sometimes, just declaring that opens the path wider than you expect. After the emotional depth of revisiting your past relationships and facing what still echoes in your heart, You're now being invited to come home to the one relationship that quietly affects everything else, the one you have with your own body. It's easy to overlook, especially when life pulls us in so many directions, when work demands energy we don't always have, or when emotions take up space we never planned for. But your body has been whispering to you. And now, it's speaking a little louder, not in words, but in signals. Maybe you've noticed your sleep feels broken, even after a long night in bed. Maybe your skin has been flaring up or reacting unexpectedly, and your thoughts feel heavier than usual. These are not just symptoms. They're messages. And the tarot confirms it through the Empress and the High Priestess, two archetypes that honor the sacred intelligence of the body and the quiet wisdom within. The Empress represents nourishment in all its forms: rest, food, movement, care. But she also asks, are you giving to yourself with the same kindness you offer others? She is not just about indulgence or beauty. She speaks of tending, the way a garden grows best when loved gently and consistently. And your body, Leo, is the garden where everything else takes root. When you feel disconnected from it, even your greatest dreams lose clarity. Your emotions become cloudy. Your decisions feel delayed. It's not because you're lost. It's because your body is calling you back. Alongside her, the High Priestess encourages silence, stillness, and trust in the unseen. She doesn't offer loud solutions. She reminds you that healing starts by listening, not just to experts or trends, but to yourself. 10 minutes in the morning, before the day takes over, can become the most powerful ritual. Just you, one hand over your heart, and one question: what do I truly need today? The answer may surprise you. Sometimes it's rest. Sometimes it's movement. Sometimes it's forgiveness. Sometimes, it's simply water. When the body speaks, it doesn't argue. It reveals. A rash isn't just skin deep. It can reflect stress or unexpressed emotion. Sleep issues are often connected to unresolved tension that your mind tries to sort in the dark. Even your digestion can carry the weight of worry. This isn't about medical labels. This is about observation, about curiosity, about returning to your body not as a project, but as a partner. Try bringing in small acts of care that hold ancient roots. A warm cup of chamomile or ginger tea before bed to signal the nervous system that it's time to release. A spoonful of chia seeds or turmeric in your breakfast to support your inner balance. These aren't just health hacks, they're acts of presence. And presence is the first medicine. There is a quiet teaching that reminds us, the body is the first to feel truth, and the last to forget. That's why healing doesn't always begin with thinking differently. It begins with treating the body as something worthy of tenderness. No shame. No guilt. Just a willingness to show up, even imperfectly, with care. So say this gently to yourself, as many times as you need: I listen to my body. I am the kindest companion to myself. That's not just an affirmation. It's a doorway. One that brings you back to the temple you live in every day, not to fix it, but to finally honor it. If you feel ready to return to yourself, not through perfection, but through love, you're already halfway there. Go ahead and comment below: I return to myself with love. Sometimes, the act of saying it aloud is enough to begin. After nurturing the body and gently coming home to your own rhythm, the path now leads towards something more subtle, the signs and symbols that surround you every day, often unnoticed, yet quietly guiding you toward clarity. When life feels chaotic or unclear, we tend to search for control. But there is another way, tuning into resonance. And this week, that resonance reveals itself through the angel numbers 50 and 2, and the color magenta, each a doorway, each a reflection of what's happening within you and around you. The number 50 carries the frequency of expansion. It speaks to movement, change, and personal evolution. But this isn't about fast growth or impulsive leaps. It's about the expansion that comes from alignment, when your choices begin to match your truth, and your energy becomes too big to remain confined by old limitations. It's the breath before a breakthrough. And if you've been feeling stretched lately, like something within you is preparing to outgrow its current container, you're not imagining it. That's 50 speaking to you. That's life shifting gears. Then comes the number 2, the gentle counterbalance. While 50 invites motion, 2 calls for inner stillness. It represents balance, harmony, and partnership, not just with others, but with yourself. Are you giving as much as you're receiving? Are your desires moving faster than your capacity to hold them? Number 2 encourages you to pause, to listen, and to restore equilibrium. It's the steady ground beneath the bold leap, the quiet breath before the next move. Without it, expansion becomes chaos. With it, expansion becomes grace. Together, 50 and 2 create a beautiful rhythm, the pulse of transformation anchored in mindfulness. They remind you that even as the world shifts around you, your inner compass must remain rooted. That's why this is the perfect moment to reflect and realign. Try a simple practice. Write down 2 things you want to carry with you, values, habits, or relationships that support your growth. Then, write down 2 things you're ready to release, maybe old fears, outdated beliefs, or patterns that no longer reflect who you're becoming. You don't need to fix everything overnight. But by naming what matters and what must fall away, you're already co-creating your next chapter. And then there's magenta, the color of deep self-love and inner knowing. It's not loud like red, nor elusive like violet. It's the middle path, the meeting point of passion and intuition. When magenta enters your life, it often signals a time when the soul is ready to be seen. This color doesn't ask you to perform or impress. It asks you to remember, to return to the wisdom that lives beneath all the noise. Whether you wear it, visualize it, or simply notice it around you, magenta invites you to soften, to reconnect, and to trust the unfolding of your journey. This isn't about superstition. It's about attention. The universe doesn't always speak in grand gestures. Sometimes, it shows up in the number on a receipt, the color in your dream, or the subtle pull to pause and reflect. These signs aren't controlling your fate, they're simply reflecting the truth you already carry. And when you acknowledge them, you create space for more clarity, more flow, more alignment. So if you've been seeing 50 or 2, or if magenta has found its way into your awareness lately, take it as a gentle nod from the universe, a reminder that you're on the edge of something beautiful. Not because of luck, but because of choice. Because you're listening. Because you're aligning. And if you feel called to anchor this energy, go ahead and comment below. I've seen 50 to 2, magenta. I'm ready to activate my good fortune. Sometimes, the act of witnessing is all it takes for the shift to begin. Leo, you've walked through fire more times than you care to admit, and yet, here you are, still glowing. Not because life has always been fair, not because everything has gone your way, but because you've chosen, again and again, to stand back up. To believe in your purpose. To fight for your peace. And that, dear soul, is what makes you unstoppable. Yes, someone may be whispering your name in envy. Yes, you may feel watched, misunderstood, even targeted. But remember this: what others project is never about you, it's about the pain they haven't yet healed. And you? You're not here to shrink yourself so others feel comfortable in your presence. You're here to rise, to soften, to lead by example, through grace, not ego. The energy moving through you now is not accidental. If you've made it this far into the reading, that alone is a sign. Something inside you knows you're ready. Ready to release what's been holding you down. Ready to claim what's been waiting behind the door you were once too tired, too afraid, or too distracted to open. But that door won't open itself. You must reach for it. You must decide. From now through May 10th, take simple but sacred actions. Begin each morning with just 5 minutes of quiet stillness. No phone, no noise, just you and your breath. Clean your workspace, not for aesthetics, but to create energetic clarity. Let go of that one person you've been holding in your heart too long, not because they deserve your forgiveness, but because you deserve your freedom. These acts are not small. They are shifts. And shifts change lives. So I ask you gently but honestly, what are you still waiting for? Whose approval do you think you need to finally live your truth? The only permission that matters is the one you give yourself. The only light that never dims is the one you build from within. You don't have to fix everything today. But you can choose differently. You can choose presence over performance. Peace over proving. Wholeness over perfection. If that resonates with you, then this moment, right here, right now, is your turning point. Tell me in the comments, what is one thing you're deeply proud of about yourself? Something no one else had to validate, something you know matters. Speak it into this space. Your voice matters here. And you never know who you might inspire. If this message touched your heart, if it felt like the universe was speaking directly to your soul, then stay connected. Like the video, leave your affirmation below, and hit subscribe so we can continue walking this path together. You're not alone. You never have been. Leo, you were born for visibility, for courage, for warmth. The kind of warmth that transforms rooms, revives dreams, and reignites hope in others. The world may not always understand you, but it needs you. And the moment you understand that you are the miracle you've been waiting for, the entire game changes. Your light isn't here to compete. It's here to lead. Let the world adjust. Let the old stories fall. And above all, let you rise. I see you. I honor you. And I'm cheering for you, every step of the way.